So this is our Mercury Retrograde report this November. Mercury retrogrades in Sagittarius today, and this is what I would label as the philosopher's descent. When Mercury stations retrograde in Sagittarius, it will be at 6 degrees, maintaining a close sextile to Pluto at 1 degrees Aquarius, and this is a very important sextile. It's a configuration that feels like a summons from the cosmic mind itself. We've lived through countless Mercury retrogrades, yet this one is quite different. It's the final retrograde of 2025 to start with, bridging the Scorpio and Sagittarius seasons, but also on a deeper level. It is the alchemical movement from death to meaning, from depth to vision. And as Mercury retraces its steps, it perfects its conjunction with Mars in Sagittarius on the 13th of November, fusing intellect and instinct, word and will. Meanwhile, Jupiter stations retrograde in Cancer on the 11th of November, continuing its square to Chiron in Aries, a tension that draws us into a prolonged inner hibernation. This is no ordinary retreat. It's a pilgrimage into the feeling of home, a question of belonging. Not to a place, but to consciousness itself. In Sagittarius, Mercury speaks with the voice of the wandering sage. Here the mind seeks the vast, unbounded horizon of truth. Mercury becomes a pilgrim of the intellect, tasting the many flavors of the world, moving through cultures and philosophies to discover the unifying essence that lies behind multiplicity. At its most exalted, Mercury in Sagittarius is the philosopher-traveler, the mind that learns not through study but through experience. It seeks the divine pattern beneath chaos. It speaks in myths and metaphors and revelations. You may find that you are doing a lot of traveling during this retrograde, but be careful because it is a retrograde and things do get disrupted in that way. But in its shadow, Mercury in Sagittarius here becomes the zealot of meaning, loud in opinion, shallow in understanding. It confuses belief with truth, preaching dogma where inquiry should reside. Inflated by its own conviction, it attempts to control life to fit its ideals, rather than allowing reality to reform its beliefs. When Mars joins Mercury, we witness the sacred fusion of logos and action, the sword of mind cutting through illusion, yet with Mercury retrograde, this union turns inwards. We are asked to reconsider the wars we fight for our truths. What have we defended out of fear of uncertainty? What ideals have become prisons? Here arise the mercurial riddles. Can truth have multiple faces and still remain truth? Is paradox the language of the gods? Can the human mind tolerate multiplicity without fragmenting? Mercury's sextile to Pluto and Aquarius is the key in the background. It opens a profound wormhole of awareness. This is the mind awakening to the architecture of reality itself. We begin to question not only personal narratives, but the collective design. Who authored this simulation? In Aquarius, Pluto dismantles collective dogmas, while Mercury in Sagittarius deconstructs personal ideologies. Their dialogue is that of Prometheus and the philosopher, the liberator of fire meeting the seeker of divine order. Together, they urge us to imagine what a Sagittarian civilization might look like. One governed by moral courage, inclusivity of wisdom, and a yearning for higher truth. What mystics call Christ consciousness. But Mercury retrograde doesn't hand us the answer. It invites us to question well, for the quality of our questions determines the reality we will later inhabit. From the 11th of November of 2025 to the 11th of March 2026, Jupiter retrogrades through Cancer, moving from 25 degrees to 15 degrees, forming significant aspects that reprogram our relationship with home, ancestry, safety, and faith. Under this influence, our emotional foundations are undergoing a deep reconstruction. A harmonious trine between Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces while still retrograde, and the Sun in Scorpio until the 22nd of November, acts like a psychic purification, a detoxification of emotional residues long stored in the collective unconscious. Bearing in mind that there will be a new moon in Scorpio on the 21st of November, but this will be in a separate report later this week. Saturn and Neptune in Pisces restructure our spiritual architecture. Jupiter in Cancer nourishes the emotional body back to integrity. Meanwhile, Jupiter's sextile to Uranus in Taurus sustains the evolutionary charge. The Earth herself shakes beneath this alliance, birthing new structures of belonging. The very concept of home, physically, emotionally, and nationally, is shifting. We are becoming citizens of consciousness rather than geography. This transit challenges the nervous system, urging embodiment. As the cosmic circuitry reconfigures, somatic grounding becomes not luxury but necessity at this time. Breathwork, movement, and earth communion are the stabilizers for a nervous system learning to trust the unknown. Now, between now and May 2026, we are being prepared, slowly but irrevocably, for the seismic reality shifts of 2027, a year that will mark the emergence of new species-level consciousness. We are entering the uncharted waters of collective individuation, what Carl Jung described as the transcendent function operating at scale. This period is less about destination and more about preparation. To withstand the coming frequencies, we must anchor deep roots into the soil of self-trust. On November 24th, Mercury Retrograde meets Venus in Scorpio, forming a grand water trine with Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune. All at this point are retrograde. Here, mind and heart merge, granting a moment of exquisite clarity. The intellect that once sought truth now feels it. Illusions collapse gently but definitely. And 5 days later, Saturn turns direct, authorizing forward motion, but this time aligned with the great mystery rather than the ego's map. This is metamorphosis nearing completion, the moment the butterfly remembers the worm it once was. Those with placements in mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, and water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, especially near the 5 and 15 degrees, will feel these currents most intimately. Taurus placements, too, are deeply involved, given Uranus's long presence and its role in this evolutionary triad. And as the new moon in Scorpio opposes Uranus and Taurus, expect another twist. Revelation through rupture, liberation through loss. In essence, Mercury's final retrograde of 2025 is not about miscommunication or delays. It's an initiation into philosophical humility and ontological curiosity. It is the mind confronting the infinite and learning to ask better questions. The alchemy between Sagittarius and Aquarius invites us to transmute dogma into dialogue, certainty into wonder. Truth, as it turns out, is not a destination, but a living frequency, one we learn to embody, not own. If you're still listening, thank you for listening so far, and I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for all your continued support of my work that, as you've likely sensed, is evolving both in essence and in expression, with many more transformations on the horizon, perfectly mirroring the shifting skies. Some of you already know that I teach the mysteries through my school, Alchemy Queen's Academy, a living temple of remembrance where every Wednesday we shed the layers of a dying consciousness and awaken a new architecture of being to meet the cosmic tides of change. Now, it's with great joy that I invite you to our free masterclass on Wednesday the 19th of November, where my dear friend and oracle, Rowan Nymphaea Ka, will guide us through the art of dream weaving and its technologies. I'm genuinely thrilled about this session, not only because Rowan is a teacher whose wisdom I deeply trust and whose noses has shaped much of my own path, but because dream weaving is a sacred art. It's truly a superpower, rarely transmitted in its true form. I have no doubt that what will be shared will transform the way you understand, experience, and create with your dreams. Registration and attendance are completely free, and you'll find the link just beneath this recording. I look forward to seeing you there. And until next time, be love and walk in mystery.